Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. How are you, Prabhuji?
I'm good. Very, very happy to be here on
Yes, yes.
this forum with you.
Yes, even I'm all really excited, Prabhuji. Finally, we are having this live session. We have been communicating about this for, I don't know, for so long, but finally, I'm really glad it's happening. So it was only 2 years ago. I remember it was back in 2019. I had attended your session somewhere in Dadar. It was regarding your book, Perfect Love. That's when I believe we first met.
Yeah.
That's when we first met.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's
yes.
finally very, very happy to be connected with you again, Prabhuji. Your books,
Wonderful.
especially the Ramayana, the Game of Life, book one and book two, it has helped me during the lockdown in ways I can't even express. So in a way, I'm deeply indebted to you for your writing, for everything that you have to share, Prabhuji. So this live was in a way my way to give back to you in the smallest, trivialist of ways as possible, Prabhuji. So thank you so much, firstly, for coming live. It is an honor
Thank
to have
you.
you on the platform to invite you. So, for those who don't know Shubha Vilas Prabhuji, I'll just give a brief introduction about him. Shubha Vilas Prabhuji is a national best-selling author of the Ramayana, the Game of Life book series. He recently launched the book 6 of the series. The book 6, which is, I believe, called Think Big to Win. If I'm right, Prabhuji, Think Big to
Yeah.
Win. Yes, I recently purchased it. I've started reading it. The first chapter of Vibhishan's departure, it really, really inspired me in ways. So otherwise, Shubh Vilas Prabhuji is a TEDx speaker. He is a lifestyle coach, and he is also a visiting faculty at the IIM, Indian Institute of Ahmedabad. By the way, one of the not one of the but the best MBA school in India, if not in the world. And that's a brief about Shubh Vilas Prabhuji. But in the next 1 hour or so that we have with us, we will be briefly discussing about four concepts, three out of which are from this book, Open Eyed Meditations, one of my favorite books ever. And one concept is from his book, Perfect Love, which I believe is also one of the very, very finest books which I've read. Ideal for couples and everybody who are having a relationship of any sort with their significant others, with their spouses. So, Prabhuji, I think I have spoken a lot. I would request you to do much of the talking in the next 1 hour. But so moving on, Prabhuji, firstly, just tell us, how has the experience been? How has the lockdown been? How has life been to you? And what has been happening in your end?
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Ujjawal
Thank
for
you.
sharing so much of what I write to the world. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
Prabhuji.
proud of what
Thank
you're
you.
doing,
That
and I'm
means a lot to me,
so
Prabhuji.
and the reason I write books is simply so that so many people get inspired and become very intimately connected with our Vedic scriptures,
Correct.
which actually is a treasure of wisdom.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the problem with all of us, rather the problem with India and the way the Indian knowledge is packaged, is that the packaging is not too attractive. So when I started studying the scriptures, when I started studying so many of the scriptures like Bhagavatam, Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, I realized the content is fantastic,
Hmm.
but the packaging is too
Packaging.
traditional for a modern
Yes.
audience to understand
True.
and appreciate and apply. So I only worked on the packaging,
Hmm.
and fortunately, it has touched so many lives. And you are packaging it further and sharing it to
Yes.
the world.
I'm
So
doing my
that's so
bit, Prabhuji,
beautiful.
to serve you. Just my small bit.
That's the best. That's the best thing we can do. Share the message with the world as much as we can, because this message has to go out. In
Exactly.
fact, this is one of the most powerful things that the world actually desperately hankers for. When 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 beautiful messages are packaged within brilliant stories, that combination is deadly. You can't beat that, you know.
Exactly.
So that's what I have been doing over the last so many years. When I began, uh, I clearly remember the first incident that we met, the Perfect Love seminar they're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes,
Uh,
Prabhuji.
that was a seminar. I actually missed a flight. I took
Haha.
a,
I
I mean, it was
remember.
such an adventure to
Yes,
reach
yes,
that
yes, yes.
that
I
venue.
remember that. I remember that, Prabhuji.
So it is quite an unforgettable course for me personally. Uh, so that has been my little journey in serving people and serving society.
That's great, Prabhuji. It was very nice. So, Prabhuji, moving on, the first topic that we like to speak about is that the book Perfect Love, in a nutshell, it speaks about 5 major principles when it comes to love. But there is also a hidden 5.5 message. It says 5.5. So I think that is, it is like a little bit regarding Harry Potter, if you know. Harry Potter has platform 9 and 3/4. So the perfect love mentions about 5.5 principles regarding love. So if you can just briefly throw some light on what are the 5 principles people need to follow today for sustainable relationships. 5.5, sorry.
Yeah. So essentially, the 5 principles that I really speak about are: first is forgiveness, second is determination, third is expressions of love, the fourth is spending time together, the fifth is determination,
Okay.
and the point 5 is conditions in love.
Conditions.
So just to give a little explanation of what these 5.5
Prabhuji.
things
Yes,
are.
please.
The first one, forgiveness, is one of the most powerful things that every relationship needs the most.
Correct.
Because we all hold on to grudges. We all hold on to feelings of feeling pain, badness, sorrow, so many things, right?
Correct.
So we hold on to these things more than we hold on to love. We hold on to all the negative experiences in a relationship much more than we hold on to the positive, loving relationships.
True.
The reason is because most people are very self-centered
Correct.
and don't look at the problems from the other person's point of view.
True.
So when we really look at other people and their problems and their stories, then we understand why they spoke in such a way. So forgiveness is so important for relationships to last. And forgiveness actually is one of the first things that we should make a part of our kitty to make relationships function. Right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Absolutely.
The second is, I spoke about expressions of love. The way we speak, every word can either make a relationship grow or make a relationship go down. Every single word has an impact in the effect relationships have in our personal lives.
Correct.
Therefore, being very choosy with the words that we really use is so important. In this particular book, I speak about the story of Rukmini and Krishna.
Yes.
And the golden letter that Rukmini writes to Krishna.
True.
And the words that she chooses. And then I speak about how Krishna expresses in the right words. You know? So expressions are very powerful for relationships to last. The third thing I speak about is the idea of intuition. Intuition is super important in relationships. Let me just give a very simple understanding of what intuition is. When somebody loves you and when you love someone, how can you be 100% sure that that person actually is genuine? There is absolutely no way.
No way.
There is absolutely no way to be 100% sure. No relationship can get you 100% guarantee that it is genuine, authentic, and absolutely pure. There is no way.
No way.
But the Mahabharata explains one very important way.
Okay.
And that is intuition.
Intuition.
Intuition. Yeah. Intuition is what you internally feel very strongly about the relationship. This is spoken through the story of Shakuntala and Dushyanta.
Okay.
How important it is for you to be intuitive about the authenticity of the relationship.
Exactly.
And it's so beautiful if you look at it from the point of view of intuition. So I spoke about forgiveness, I spoke about intuition, I spoke about expressions of love. The fourth is determination.
Correct.
Through the story of Satyavan and Savitri, this talks about how determination is so important. Savitri was so determined to make the relationship work that she was ready to fight against death itself. Now, in today's world, which is typically what we say, love at first sight and divorce at first fight, you know? People are ready to give up a relationship like this. People are just waiting to give up a relationship. They're just waiting. You turn like this, you say, why you turn like that? I give up. You know, if I eat something, why you ate that? I give up. So people just want a reason to give up on the relationship. It's so easy and it's so common. But here is a story of someone who had every reason to give up, but still doesn't give up. And that teaches us how important determination is to make relationships work.
Exactly, Prabhuji.
So far, we have spoken about forgiveness, expressions of love, intuition, determination. And the fifth thing is time. The more you invest in a relationship in terms of your time, the more you actually value the relationship, and you're actually telling the person that I value you. Because today, money doesn't show you how much you value.
Yes.
No matter how much money you throw at someone or you give someone, that is not the actual determining factor to show that you really value a person.
Yes.
The most important factor that to really show that you care for someone is how much time are you ready to spend with that person.
So
that really shows that you really value the relationship. In today's world, time is more valuable than money, and that is why it is so precious to give good quality. When I'm saying time, it's not that you sit with a mobile phone, you're talking to somebody. That's not what time is. Time means quality time. And there's one story in this book that really talks about how important time is to grow and to deepen a relationship. So these are the first 5 ways, which are very straightforward ways. And there's a sixth way, which is a 0.5. It's called conditions in love. What is the meaning of conditions in love? Conditions in love means essentially that a lot of people, when they want to develop a relationship, they say, if this condition is fulfilled, then I don't mind being in this relationship.
Correct.
If that condition is fulfilled, so they're ready to put in conditions, because a lot of people feel lot of conditions means it will ensure that the relationship will survive. So they keep putting conditions on the relationship. But actually, sometimes conditions become destructive for relationships. So in the Mahabharata, we speak about 3 stories in the Mahabharata that talk about conditions in love. And each one has one of the parties have put a condition saying that if you do this for me, then I don't mind marrying you. If you do this for me, then I don't mind staying with you. So what happens with conditions is it has 2 sides to the coin. One side of the condition is the negative conditions. That means these conditions are actually detrimental to the relationship.
True.
It's like, holding down a person with chains. If you try to hold a dragon, huge dragon with chains, now you think the dragon is going to be happy and peacefully standing there?
No.
Absolutely not. The dragon will just go all over and destroy, right? So the more you try to pull down somebody based on conditions, the more frustrated a person gets.
Right. Yes.
And that is the 0.5 part that is bad, that should not be used in a relationship.
Correct.
Where it is one-sided, where it is selfish, where it is pulling down the other person. But the other side of conditions is very good. It's called positive conditions in love. What is positive conditions? Positive conditions means where 2 people mutually sit together and agree on some conditions that will help both of them enhance the relationship.
Correct.
That will help both of them look at each other with a greater respect, with a greater inspiration, love, and happiness. And these conditions are so important for relationships to work. And that's what these are called positive conditions. Right. So the Mahabharata has both the stories. It has stories of people who put conditions and the relationship goes down. And it has stories of people who put conditions mutually discussed and conditions that are going to not just help one of them, but help everybody, both the parties. Everyone concerned. And those conditions actually enhance and take the relationship to another level. So that's the 0.5 that we spoke about.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So that is the whole idea about 5.5 ways to lasting relationships.
So Prabhuji, when it comes to the conditions, I believe one marriage in Mahabharata is probably one of the most unique marriages of them all, Pandavas and Draupadi. Now, this particular marriage was also filled with many conditions. But contrary to the others, this marriage was successful because the conditions were mutually agreed upon. So probably just for 1 minute, can you just highlight how Draupadi and Pandavas were able to make the most of their marriage with the conditions they had set? Like, what was their USP, which made that marriage last.
Yeah. So just when the Pandavas got married with Draupadi, the 5 of them got married to Draupadi, Narad Muni walked into their life.
Okay.
And Narad Muni was the one who gave them this idea of putting conditions in the relationship. And Narad Muni was amazing because he actually told them how, if in such a unique marriage, it is very much possible that there will be fights between the brothers.
Correct.
Over Draupadi. And Narad Muni actually told them, if all of you all don't sit together and make clear-cut conditions of this for this marriage, it will not work. And that's when Draupadi and the Pandavas sat together and mutually agreed upon some conditions. One condition was that they all agreed that Draupadi will be the wife of one of the 5 Pandavas for a period of 1 year.
1 year.
And after a 1 year period, she and all the Pandavas will go through a purificatory ceremony, purificatory rituals, and so many very, very intense austerities. And after that period of that austerity, then Draupadi will be the wife of the second Pandava for the period of 1 year.
Okay.
And also, they put a third condition, which was, if Draupadi is with one of the Pandavas in that 1 year period, and she is spending some private time with them, then no one could enter that room. No one would be allowed to enter the room. If anyone entered that room, they would have to go for a 12-year period for exile. And during the time when Draupadi was with Yudhishthir, one time Arjun had to come in.
Yes.
Yeah, because of an emergency situation, his bow was there. And after that, he actually went out for 12 years for exile period.
Yes.
So that means they were so strict about the conditions, basically.
True.
So because they put in such strict conditions, and all of them follow the conditions perfectly, therefore the marriage worked. And it created such a harmony and such a beautiful family together.
Yes, Prabhuji, that's very nice. Prabhu. It was really nice understanding these 5.5 principles from you. Now, this was regarding the personal life. Now, these 5 principles, okay, if we apply in our personal lives, then things can be good, things can be better. But there is also a professional side to things where these conditions, it's always advisable to keep personal separate and professional separate. This is what I have learned throughout my life. So there are a couple of chapters in this book of Open-Eyed Meditations. One of them particularly really caught my eye, which is why I thought we will specifically discuss about this. So, many things influence the success of a person. Some of them are tangible, some of them are intangible. Some of them are in our control, some of them are not in our control. So what is that one X factor which you talk about in this book, which differentiates, or rather I would say which influences the success of a person? Because we observe many times that everybody is working hard, everybody is doing something or the other, but only a few succeed. Like, for example, there is one particular Shah Rukh Khan, but behind that one Shah Rukh Khan, there are many people who tried hard, who struggled very hard, but they could not be successful. So what is that one thing which separates somebody who is successful and somebody who keeps struggling? What is that one thing?
In my understanding, this particular chapter that I wrote in the Open-Eyed Meditation is based on one very interesting verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I'll share that verse and then probably we could have a discussion.
Perfect.
So this verse of the Gita actually talks about 5 factors behind your success. It says, Karta. Karta means the person who is doing it. So if you choose the best person for a particular task, you will get the best results. The second is place. Place does make a difference in the way you get results, right? So if you choose the best place, there's a good chance you'll get better results. The third is the type of instruments. You choose the best quality instruments, you'll get the best results. The fourth is the type of efforts. The more efforts you put in, there's a greater chance you'll be successful. Correct. The less efforts you put in, there's a less chance you'll be successful. So these 4 factors are very much in your hand. Choosing the right person is in your hand. Choosing the right instruments is in your hand. Choosing the right place is in your hand. And putting effort is in your hand. So 4 of these factors is in your hand.
Correct.
But Gita talks about the 5th factor. It's called Daiva. Daiva means the hand of destiny, the hand of God, whatever you can call it. That's called the X factor behind success. So 4/5 of this you can control it, but 1/5 you can't control, and that 1/5 that you can't control keeps you humble, keeps you grounded, keeps you on your toes, literally, because there is something that is beyond you. The Mahabharata talks about so many amazing stories that bring out the concept of Daiva, bring out the concept of the X factor behind your success. And every time the Mahabharata brings out this, it brings it out in such a powerful way. Uh, and then, so usually I always say this, that the secret of success of the Pandavas, or rather the family business of the Pandavas, was to seek blessings. And the family business of the Kauravas was to seek curses, right?
Yes.
So the Pandavas recognized that there is a factor beyond us which actually influences our success. And the Kauravas always felt their success depended on four things only. So the Kauravas kept doing the four things very, very diligently and very smartly, but they forgot the fifth factor. And the Pandavas did the four, definitely did the four, but they gave more weightage to the fifth factor. They gave more relevance and more importance to the fifth factor because they knew that 99% is our effort, but that 1%, which is grace, is actually more powerful than the 99% of your effort that you put in.
Correct.
So a lot of times we said everything depends on my effort, and people do put in a lot of effort, right? But they don't understand that there's 1%, but that 1% is actually equivalent to the 99%, you know. And because people don't pay attention to that 1%, they take it for granted, and that is when they really face hurdles in their success.
Yes, Prabhuji. Absolutely. I'll just like to read out that one paragraph from this chapter, Prabhuji, which really struck me, to everybody who is present here, who will also view this video afterwards. Talent alone tends to make one arrogant. Talent and good attitude make one malleable. Talent, good attitude and character make one trustable. Talent, good attitude, character and blessings make one capable. Talent, good attitude, character, blessings and grace make one successful. And if you top that with guidance of the wise, then that makes one eternally grateful. This paragraph really struck with me, Prabhuji, when I read it. So I had to include it in this particular live session that we had. So Prabhuji, thank you firstly for writing this. It really strikes a lot of chords in my head every time I hear it. So Prabhuji, okay, moving on. You said that grace is one of the most important factors, more important than everything else which is covered. Now, moving on, that this is, we live in a digital era right now where things are evolving at the pace of lightning. Everything is moving very fast. And it is said, when I was studying during my MBA, I read this one line in a book. It is that the attention span of an individual has fallen to just 8 to 12 seconds. Now, this is something even in our content world, we pay attention to, that in the first 8 to 12 seconds of a video, if you have captured the attention of the viewer, then it is a win for you. Otherwise, the battle is lost right over there. So the point here is that the focus of people has drastically reduced. So there is one chapter in this book which says, is lack of focus a decision or a choice? So if you can just briefly, Prabhuji, in probably 5 to 10 minutes or so, if you can illustrate how exactly does the idea of focus work? Where exactly does a person go wrong when in terms of focus? And what can we do to improve our focus?
Thank you for that question. I am dealing day in and day out with young boys and girls who are struggling with their mobile phones.
Correct. True, Prabhuji.
And literally, the mobile phone.
There are times when I am also one of them. I won't lie. I'll be honest. There are times when I'm also one of them. So asking this question, it is a little bit selfish on my part also to ask this question. But okay. So yes, Prabhuji, please go on.
So whenever I come across youngsters who are really struggling with, attention deficiency disease, it's not a disease actually. It's a lifestyle nowadays.
Correct.
A lot of times, what we consider to be a disease or what we consider to be a disturbance is simply some wrong choices that we have made.
Correct.
If you have made those wrong choices, there will be a repercussion that will follow. As simple as that, So one of the most powerful needs, powerful things that you need to be focused in life is patience.
Patience.
That's what is the most important thing for you to develop any kind of focus. Let me give you a simple example or
Yes, yes.
an explanation. When internet goes down, typically Wi-Fi collapses or your net data is not working, something goes wrong. How much desperate a person becomes.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's almost like the world is finished.
Correct.
If the net goes, you just can't sit for a few seconds also without full-fledged Wi-Fi. Why? Because we're living in an environment that is fast-paced. The environment in which we are is so fast-paced that we think we might miss out on something in those few seconds. Net goes down, the phone lines go down, electricity goes down for that matter, whatever.
Yes.
And we become so disturbed by it. The reason is because we have stopped exposing ourselves to nature.
Okay.
Everything in nature works at its own pace. If you plant a small seed, it will not grow the next day. You won't get vegetables 2 days later.
True.
Not possible. It takes its own time.
Own time.
When a mother conceives a baby, she can't download the baby tomorrow. It'll take 9 months.
Yes.
And no matter how fast, how much you are in a hurry, it will take its own sweet time, basically. Everything that is natural takes its own course of time. It takes its own sweet time to manifest as a reality.
Correct.
Anything that is unnatural, it happens quick. It happens very quickly.
Very quickly.
Every person should spend some time in nature to be able to get out of this need for speed. The need for speed is simply because we have cut ourselves away from nature.
Correct.
The moment you put back yourself into something natural, anything natural, you will realize that you become a little more patient. You will become a little more, peaceful.
Correct.
And another very important thing when it comes to losing patience is the speed at which the mind runs away.
Okay.
So the nature of the mind is to run away from what you're focusing to something else. So the mind usually runs either in the past or in the future.
Correct.
So if you actually see you're sitting and trying to read a book, you're thinking about what I did yesterday. You're thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yes.
You are
Happens.
usually you're sitting and watching a movie in a theater. In the movie theater, you're thinking about what I'm going to do at work. And at work, you're thinking about what I'm going to do in the movie theater. Practically, the mind is not in the present. It's either running in the future or going in the past.
Correct.
The idea of developing focus is connected with the practice of pulling back your mind and focusing on the present.
True.
When the mind goes this side, pull it and focus. When the mind goes that side, pull it and focus. Now, the question is, how many times should we do it? The answer is simple. For anything you want to expertise, you need a minimum 10,000 hours of practice. Anything you want to expertise, you need a minimum of
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours of practice.
Correct.
So now, your mind is running, it's going to run. Are you practicing enough to pull it and focus? Why do you think the sages sit in the mountains for years together? They're simply accumulating those 10,000 hours of practice.
Right.
The question is, are you ready to invest that much time? We all want to become focused, but you're not ready to invest time in practicing.
Time.
So it's as simple as that. When your mind runs, remember, it's a practice time.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, what is the simplest of thing which can be done from our part to improve our focus? One thing is to spend time with nature. What else is something to start off? I'm not saying something on a grand scale. Okay, soon enough we can reach the stage, but to start off with that, what can be done right now to start off, at least a starting point? Because I personally am a believer in the fact that the start is always difficult. My first video was the most difficult. My first YouTube video was the most difficult. But once I got the knack for it, once I knew the direction, it was easier to run. But the starting is often difficult. So what can be done to start off?
Let me suggest a couple of things that might help you all.
Please.
One thing is, find the distractions that are taking you away from focus.
Okay.
For each and every one of us, there is something very distracting that is taking us away from our focus. For some persons, some people it might be Instagram. as simple as uninstalling Instagram might help you. And of course, you can always install it back when you want, you know. So a lot of times, when you just do simple things, you might actually end up solving a big complicated issue. So find your distractions. That's the first step. The second step is try to minimize your distractions. Try to keep yourself, or at least give yourself, a few hours of distraction-less time.
Correct.
Which means every day, if you have to uninstall some apps and reinstall it after a few hours, it's still worth it.
Still worth it.
Still worth it. So that means at least 3 hours or 4 hours a day, uninstall some apps from your phone. And then reinstall it after a few hours of focused work. You know?
Correct.
That is one option. The second is, keep yourself in an environment that allows you to focus. If a TV is running somewhere and you're sitting to study there, impossible. So if there is some distractions all around you, and in the middle of that is distractions you want to focus, how is it possible for you to focus?
Exactly.
And therefore, create an environment around you. It may be it doesn't have to be a big room or big house or anything like that. It has to be a small environment which keeps you focused. Third thing is, keep short bursts of intense focus time. Don't keep 5 hours of focus, not possible. Keep short bursts of intense focus time. Say 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Intense focus for the 30-45 minutes. Nothing to distract you for the 30-45 minutes. No phones, no WhatsApps, no messages, no social media. For that 35 to 40 minutes. And then give yourself a 10-minute break. 15 minutes break if you want. And then again, 30-40 minutes of intense focus. So when you have this, you know, the mind gets tired usually of focusing. So if the mind has to focus for many hours at a stretch, it won't focus. It will keep running away, it will get distracted, it will get tired. So you should try to accumulate small bursts of focus time. And those remaining 15 minutes that you get the break, that's where the secret is. Don't do anything that tires your mind during that 15 minutes break. Do something that actually relaxes you, those 15-minute breaks. You know? So you have to find a regimen of things that will relax you during those 15-minute breaks. Like typically if you watch a web series at that point, you know, you will get more tensed because you will be wondering what happened to that fellow, you know. So you are accumulating more anxiety. So instead of that, do things that will relax you in those 15 minutes. And when you get relaxed, you can take a small nap. 15-minute nap is great. It's called a snap, you know, short nap. Yeah. So do things like that will relax you. And then again, another 30-40 minutes of intense focus. So that way, you achieve two things at a time. One, the productive time that you get in those 30-40 minutes will be much, much better than 4 or 5 hours of stretched of focus. You get it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And your mind will be fresh after a few minutes of break. With a fresh mind, you can be more creative. You can be more productive. You can be more focused. You can be more innovative. You can actually get such brilliant ideas with a clear mind.
True.
So this way, you know, at 15 minutes, if you can meditate, wonderful, nothing like it, you know. So use those 15-minute gaps for doing things that relax you. Do yoga nidra if you like, you do pranayama if you like, do anything that relaxes you. And then again, another 30-40 minutes of intense focus.
Intense focus.
I'll tell you, if people start doing this, they will achieve much more in shorter duration of time than working very, very hard for 10 hours a day.
Yes. Absolutely, Prabhuji. That was probably one of the most interesting things I heard in the last, I don't know how many weeks or months. Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing that. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways I have from this session. Prabhuji, lastly now, you mentioned Instagram specifically while speaking about that technique, that try uninstalling the Instagram application itself for a couple of times. Now, interestingly, there was this one chapter in this book which said, do likes determine our life? Because, I speak now as a creator, as a content creator, and along with me, I saw many other content creators on this session. I still hope they are there. We are extremely very number focused. You know, after a point, we have to check कि क्या number है, क्या हमारा reel का view आया, कितने likes आए, कितने comments आए, कितने shares हैं, कितने saves हैं. So it kind of makes it difficult for us because we constantly keep a track of it. So somewhere we feel that, somewhere in the numbers game, somewhere in the likes and the comments, we are kind of losing the track of our lives. So the question is that what can we do to get rid of this one particular thing? That do likes determine our life really? Do really Instagram likes determine the way we are? Because this is one thing. Someone has name of the book. It's called Open-Eyed Meditations. Please check it out. So that's the ask, Prabhuji. Like, what can we do to get out of this? The web of likes, as we call it.
Yeah. Thank you for that question, and thank you for being thoroughly honest here on this discussion. Sharing your struggles.
Yes,
that's
Prabhuji.
So important.
It's very. I'm being an open book, Prabhuji. Like I have nothing to hide from you or to anybody here, because I believe the problems I face are problems the general public also ends up facing at some point.
Absolutely. Let me tell you a story from the Mahabharata that will bring more perspective to this discussion, and then I'll speak. In the Mahabharata, just before the war, Bhishma, who is a commander of the Kaurava army, he has a meeting of all the Kaurava generals, and he's kind of evaluating the performance and the abilities of each of them, and he gives ratings. So he gives somebody Maharati rating. He tells Duryodhana and Dushasana Maharati is like somebody who can fight against thousands of warriors. Somebody gives them a rating of Rathi and things like that. And when it comes to Karna, he gives him a rating of Ardharathi. The word Ardharathi means half a warrior. That means he can't even kill one person properly, Literally saying useless. Karna gets very, very upset. And he takes it very seriously. He gets very offended. He asks Bhishma, how dare you call me Ardharathi? I am greater than a Maharati if there is something. So Bhishma gives him a logical explanation. He says, you have a curse on your head. According to your curse, your Guru Parashuram has cursed you that when you need the knowledge the most, you will forget all your knowledge. So Bhishma says, what is the point in you being useful during exhibition matches when during the most important war of life you're going to be useless? So he said, according to me, or Ardharathi. Now here is where my thought process and my discussion is. Just because Bhishma is saying Karna is an Ardharathi, does it actually make him Ardharathi? The answer is, obviously from Bhishma's point of view, his definition of Ardharathi makes sense. Like if I call you a donkey, are you a donkey?
No.
Not necessarily, right? Obviously not, If I call someone an idiot, does it really make that person an idiot? It's not at all, right? But that's the way we perceive it. If we see this, we value ourselves more. If we see this, we value ourselves less. If we actually take ourselves, we rate ourselves based on others' rating of us. The way the world is designed, it is designed to make you take other people's opinions too seriously. I know the most funny thing is, in a world of social media, where there are thousands of people giving opinion about you and your work, and there are people whom you don't even know giving opinion about you and your work, and we take those opinions so seriously, and we value ourselves based on those opinions. Ideally, human beings should value themselves based on their contribution. There is a big difference between fame and popularity.
True.
Fame is short-lived. Popularity is long-lived. Fame is like a burst, zoop, like a Diwali rocket, shoots up, big blast, wow, everybody gives claps, everybody does this, and then gone. But popularity takes its time to build, slowly, because you are making inroads into people's hearts.
True.
Most people are trying to capture people's minds. When you the problem with capturing minds is RAM always is very short-lived. Random access memory.
Yes. Short-lived.
You only when you're touching people's minds and you get this wow feeling, it's a very short-lived feeling. But popularity, you're making inroads into people's hearts. When you're trying to make inroads into people's hearts, you stay there forever. And therefore, my humble suggestion to most people who are in this pursuit of developing great content, which is so important in society today.
True, Prabhuji.
Please do not get stuck with evaluating yourself based on likes and dislikes, because that's short-lived. But look at how many inroads you have made into people's hearts. And that is much more long-lasting than anything else. Therefore, the pursuit for fame will lead you to short bursts of, touching minds. But the pursuit for popularity will actually, may not give you short bursts immediately. It will not give you anything immediately. But the number of hearts that you touch, you're touching so deep that you will actually remain in those hearts for a longer period of time. And that, I think, is a much more powerful way to actually overcome this, struggle, disease, or, dilemma that people have today. I hope I made sense.
Yes, Prabhuji. Absolutely. Crystal clear. Crystal clear, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I still believe we have a few minutes left. There is just one thing beyond the scope of our live session which I would like to ask. Again, from this book, Open-Eyed Meditations Only. For those who are asking, the name of the book is Open-Eyed Meditations. Please check it out if you can. So, yes, the one thing which I wanted to ask is that in this book, there is one chapter which is called Can I Hurt Others Without Getting Hurt? The title itself was very catchy, and I wanted to at least some pearls of wisdom from your end as to what exactly happens when we hurt others, and can we hurt others without getting hurt? Like, what was the basic idea behind this, Prabhuji, and how relevant it is in today's society? Like, because see, I personally feel that people constantly try to, I won't say hurt, but there is a verse which goes like, people listen to you to respond. People don't listen to you to understand. This is one thing which I've read on social media a lot. So people nowadays feel very comfortable hurting others through words, through actions or whatever, without understanding what impact it can have on the opposite person. So how can we use the concept of this chapter, Prabhuji, to address this particular issue? All in all, can we hurt others without expecting getting hurt in the process?
So, the human heart is very sensitive, and it holds on to pain more than pleasure. So when anybody insults us, anybody speaks something that really hurts us, we hold on to that pain so much, and the natural reaction for somebody who's holding on to pain is that he wants to release it by causing pain to that person. So this is, in psychology, this is a word known as transference. We want to transfer the pain to the other person. So usually we end up transferring pain to the person who pained us, who caused us pain. And the way we do it is through our actions, words, and behavior. So when somebody hurts us, we think, if I hurt that person back, I'm transferring it back to him. But we don't understand that when somebody hurts us, by holding on to that hurt, we're actually causing more hurt to ourselves.
True.
And by transferring it to them, it's not that our hurt is going to lessen, So it's like, if somebody has a burning coal in their hand, and the reason they're holding the burning coal is so that they can throw it on the other person. Yes, when you throw it on the other person, it'll hurt that person.
It'll hurt both of us.
But it'll hurt you first.
Yes.
The one who's holding will get hurt first.
Correct.
And then the one whom it is thrown on will also get hurt, obviously. But the idea of being hurt is based on the story that you tell yourself. When somebody speaks anything to you which hurts you, there is a fact and there is a story. Usually, there is fact which is pretty easy and simple fact. But there's a story we mix to the fact. The story we create.
We ourselves create sometimes.
We create that story. And that the fact and the story gets so complicatedly mixed up the fact and emotions get so complicatedly mixed up, then you can't separate out what is fact, what is story.
Correct.
And that is why if somebody is feeling hurt, that person will usually not be able to pinpoint exactly why that person is feeling hurt. If you start asking that person, why, tell me exactly why, they will tell you many stories. But how many of those stories will be facts? Big question mark.
True.
That is why it is so important to separate stories from facts. Because when you separate the story from facts, you will realize you have some facts and you have some stories. But the other person also has a story of his own.
Correct.
Which, when mixed with the facts, it makes another story completely.
Yes.
So you have some story that you mix with the fact, and the other person has a story that he mixes with the fact. And each of them are looking at the fact from a totally different light.
Different light.
Because that fact is mixed with their own version of their story. And your version is different from my version. Your version helps you and makes you the hero. My version of the story helps me and makes me the hero. Unfortunately, in both our versions, we are looking at the other person as a villain.
True.
That is why, to be able to deal with hurt, it is so important to deal with facts. The moment you mix fact, if you separate the fact and story, life becomes much more simpler. And to deal with the hurt becomes much more simpler. And that is why when you're hurting, it is important to go and spend time discussing the hurt with someone that you know will not support you blindly. Someone who you know will help you separate the story and fact and then see things in the right light. In that right light, you have a solution. Otherwise, it's just going to be complicated story after story after story after story. And your story will make you hurt the other person. That person will have another story, they will hurt you, and it will become a total cycle.
Correct, Prabhuji. That was a very enlightening one. I'm glad I asked you. Firstly, sorry for asking that out of the blue. I know we hadn't planned it, but still I thought this might benefit the audience and everybody who might watch it later. So,
I
Prabhuji,
love things that are unplanned.
Array. Then I guess I should ask you for another live session out of the blue on the same day. Maybe we can have it.
Absolutely. Happy to.
Yes, Prabhuji. First, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your time. If there is any other pearl of wisdom, anything else you might want to share with us, anything at all, the floor is yours maybe for a couple of minutes and then we can wrap it up.
Sure. My little small thought that might help you, help all of you in your journeys of life is, don't make education restricted to college and schools. For all those of you who are still in college and schools, should continue studying, but also embark on a journey towards life education. Because I know so many people in this world who are very, very highly educated as far as academics is concerned. But unfortunately, they're not life educated. Because they're not life educated, when they come across challenges and pains and difficulties in their life, they collapse. They completely collapse and they lose themselves. And therefore, it is so important to pursue life education. And life education is so important in today's time, especially because we do not have the support of joint families like as it was in the past. In the past, education was so much easier because there would be somebody who is observing you sometime. And today, in the lonely world that we are all a part of, especially in the world of social media, where you watch everyone but nobody watches you. So in the society, in a lonely world that nobody is watching you, there is obviously no one to help you. And that is why we should pursue life education, to educate ourselves, to equip ourselves, to solidify ourselves with inner will to live. And not just live, but to live in a way that is graceful, dignified, and beautiful. This combination of your regular education and life education makes you complete. If you're educated, but you don't have wisdom, there is more damage the education can cause than help. And therefore, my humble suggestion to all of you all is please upgrade yourself, if possible, on a daily basis. Chanakya Pandit says that every day we should at least study one new verse. If not a verse, at least half a verse. If not half a verse, at least one sentence. If not one sentence, at least one word learned daily. If you just put that in today's context, you may not learn verses, but let us at least absorb one new concept a day, one new learning a day. If not a whole learning, at least one small word that will touch you every day. And that kind of upgradation over a period of time will actually make you wise. Not just knowledgeable, make you wise. There's a big difference between information and transformation. There's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. So please don't just seek knowledge, please seek wisdom that will uplift you, and it'll actually be a great aid to society. Thank you very much. Very, very grateful to you, Ujjawal, for
Thank you, Prabhuji.
bringing this together.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's a beautiful conversation.
The pleasure was all mine, Prabhuji, to have you finally. I believe we should do such sessions more often, because this past 1 hour has been more of a transformation for me itself. Like, I walked into this session a different person and I'm walking out of it a different person. I can definitely say that. And I'm sure this applies to almost everybody who is here, everybody who's here. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for having us and for allowing me to host you. And I'm eternally grateful for your time, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
What we could also do is another time when we meet and we connect on these discussions, we could open up the floor for question answers also.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The audience can have some discussions, and I'm sure everybody has so many amazing questions to ask.
Questions we can have.
And I'll be more than honored to serve all of you all.
We'll do that, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much,
very
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Thank you.